it's time to get out the vote. One of the most serious times in our history, one of the most critical times. We're in crisis. But thank God, like Moses was given a rod by God to stretch it out, to open up the Red Sea. When we cast our vote as African American people, Black Lives Matter and Black votes make us do much better. Now register people and mobilize. Take the day and make sure you get them to the polls. For many of our senior saints, do their write-in, mail-in, and let's make it happen. Now is the time. And the rod of righteousness is in our hands. It is the vote. Black Lives Matter and Black votes. Faith in action is voting on this November 3rd and or before. Thank you for your cooperation in rallying your family, church, and community to vote like we've never voted before, for our life does depend on it.
Welcome to the online presence of One Church, One School. The mission of One Church, One School is to bring together faith-based organizations and schools in partnership that teach our children the value of life and the value of learning. At One Church, One School, we believe it takes a village to raise a child. And so we utilize the P principle of total involvement to provide human and fiscal resources to support and nurture the school community environment for student development. Pastors and parishioners, principals and school personnel, parents, pupils, politicians, popular personalities, and philanthropists all connect the village to the school and the child. Bishop Henry M. Williamson Sr., the Christian Methodist Episcopal Church, launched the One Church, One School initiative in 1992 while serving as pastor of the historic Carter Temple CME Church in Chicago, Illinois. Then asking Dr. Fredonia Jones Johnson to work alongside him as the director. They then enlisted the aid of area pastors, churches, and other faith-based organizations to provide volunteers to help the schools in tutoring, mentoring, and other programs to increase attendance and parental involvement. One Church, One School has since grown to become one of the national outreach ministries of the Christian Methodist Episcopal Church, with over 200 partnerships in over 50 cities, 15 states across the country, and even abroad.
Hey, welcome to our virtual event. It's Thursday, October 22nd, and you are in for a treat. We're getting ready to begin shortly, so go ahead, get comfortable, sit back and relax, get your tablets, get your notepads, take notes, engage us on social media because you are about to be blessed. We have a host of panelists. We have our plenary speaker who's here. We have our student empowerment. And guess what? You're going to hear from students and volunteers from across the country. So get ready, brothers and sisters. The One Church, One School virtual event is here, and we're getting ready to begin soon.
From here.
Hey, welcome to our virtual event.
I am Denise Anders Modis. I bring you greetings from the First Episcopal District and from the Trinity CME Church of Memphis, Tennessee, where I serve joyfully as pastor. And we are proud to announce that we have been in partnership through the One Church, One School with Manassas High School for many, many years. We thank God for the leadership of Ms. Georgette Charlton, who serves now as the First Episcopal District Director or Coordinator of the One Church, One School. I am delighted again and humbled and thankful, Bishop Williamson, for this opportunity and the privilege to introduce myself to each of you. First, I'd like to introduce myself as a fourth-generation educator. As an educator, let me say thank you for the continuous effort in light of our current climate in America. Thank you for your heart and your spirit are still with the well-being of the children, the youth, and their families. Thank you for teaching them the values of life and learning. Thank you. Then secondly, I would like to introduce myself as a candidate aspiring for the office of bishop in the Christian Methodist Episcopal Church in 2022. You have heard me say across the globe that this church has been my childhood sweetheart for over 50 years. Plus, she has, like One Church, One School, she has nourished me, she's groomed me, she's equipped me, she's empowered me, and most of all, she's taught me the value of life and learning. I am Denise Anders Modis.
It is our delight to be a part of this great enterprise of One Church, One School. Bunton Christian Methodist Episcopal Church is known as the place of God's grace. We have intentionally imparted the grace of God on families and children through our partnership with Cleveland Elementary School with Principal Marquise Clark and Counselor Horace Wilson. Our director of One Church, One School, Ms. Ollie McNeil, has used all the resources within Bunton to make sure that we are present and active in the life of Cleveland Elementary children and families. Our ministry to men provide reading to the kids once a month. We provide Christmas gifts during the holidays, and each department has adopted a classroom. We're intentional to make sure that no child is left behind and every family is supported through the One Church, One School partnership with Bunton Christian Methodist Episcopal Church.
Hi, I'm Reverend Dr. Charlie Ames Jr., Senior Pastor of BB Memorial CME Cathedral in Oakland, California. I am here to salute the founder and visionary, Bishop Henry Milton Williamson Sr., along with the Executive Director, Dr. Fredonia Johnson, with this amazing One Church, One School partnership. We have benefited from it immensely. With the Lowell Middle School, along with Montera Middle School. It was at the Lowell Middle School that we were able to replant the entire garden to feed the entire school. Along with Montera, we were able to supply not only mentors, but substitute teachers to make the difference in those two schools. I want you to know that this partnership has not only enriched my ministry, but has expanded our reach into the community. So we say thank you, Bishop Williamson, for your visionary leadership, but most importantly, providing the tools that we can make an impact on the lives of those who we love, the value of life, and the value of learning.
This year, August the 1st, 2020, a total of $57,300 were given in scholarship funds. As we continue on, We also gave a total of $25,000 to our CME colleges because of the crises for COVID-19. We gave Lane College, Miles College, Payne College, and Texas College the total of $25,000. We are also going to give to Phillips School of Theology in December of this year. This money for scholarship was raised by our 31 regents, the vice presidents and presidents of the Christian Methodist Episcopal Church. To God be the glory for great things that he has done.
It's time to get out the vote. One of the most serious times in our history, one of the most critical times. We're in crisis. But thank God, like Moses was given a rod by God to stretch it out, to open up the Red Sea. When we cast our vote as African American people, Black Lives Matter and Black votes make us do much better. Now register people and mobilize. Take the day and make sure you get them to the polls. For many of our senior saints, do their write-in, mail-in, and let's make it happen. Now is the time. And the rod of righteousness is in our hands. It is the vote. Black Lives Matter and Black votes. Faith in action is voting on this November 3rd and or before. Thank you for your cooperation in rallying your family, church, and community to vote like we've never voted before, for our life does depend on it.
Hey, welcome to our virtual event. It's Thursday, October 22nd, and you are in for a treat. We're getting ready to begin shortly, so go ahead, get comfortable, sit back and relax, get your tablets, get your notepads, take notes, engage us on social media because you are about to be blessed. We have a host of panelists. We have our plenary speaker who's here. We have our student empowerment. And guess what? You're going to hear from students and volunteers from across the country. So get ready, brothers and sisters. The One Church, One School virtual event is here, and we're getting ready to begin soon.
From here.
Greetings to all of you on our One Church, One School virtual event, teaching, inspiring, informing session. As we move nationally, we're so grateful that we've been able to, for more now than 25 years, teach the value of life and the value of learning to all of our students, parents, faith communities across America and the world. We want to thank you for sharing with us, many of you registering with us, and we certainly want to thank Dr. Fredonia Jones Johnson, our National Executive Director, who has been sharing and leading for us now more than 30 years. What a tremendous woman of God she is. Certainly, we want to know this year, creating new approaches to faith-based school partnerships. How can we reach and teach our children in COVID-19 during this pandemic? The faith-based community and the home and the schools and teachers and especially our great students will have some answers for us as we begin this wonderful outreach, information, and inspirational as we all get involved with America's most important resource, our students, our boys and our girls who are 100% of our future, and let us pour into them in ways now that the church, the school, the community, the government, our policies to uplift, improve the academic performance of all of our young people.
Welcome to the One Church, One School virtual event. I am Dr. Fredonia Jones Johnson, Executive Director of One Church, One School. Thank you for joining us as we come together on behalf of our students during this unprecedented times. As with all institutions, schooling, teaching, and learning have undergone a great transformation, and for many of our students, it has been a traumatic experience. This virtual event is just about that. What can we do to help our students during these unusual times? For the past 28 years, One Church, One School has supported students, and we continue to do so during the pandemic. In fact, we are increasing our efforts and finding new ways to give support. I want to express my gratitude to Bishop and Dr. Williamson for this vision of meeting the needs of our students through new lenses. I'm grateful to the One Church, One School leadership technical team for bringing us to this point. Our expectation from this event is that more and more people, especially members of the faith community, will be motivated and inspired to take action on behalf of our students. They need us now more than ever. And with God's help, we can guide, support, and love them into their new transformed world. Thank you, and may God bless and keep you in his care.
Hey everybody, it's Pastor Leon Parker, National Secretary of One Church, One School here in the great city of Nashville. It gives me a great privilege and honor to introduce the student empowerment speaker for this virtual event, Mr. I Am Possible, Keith L. Brown. Let me tell you about this brother. This brother is anointed and appointed for such a time as this. He was labeled as at-risk special education, but through the process of a loving community, such as One Church, One School and other communities, they rallied behind him, and now he is a nationally acclaimed, globally acclaimed speaker. And guess what? He is a Presidential Lifetime Achievement recipient. You are in for a treat. Students, prepare your ears, prepare your eyes, because you are about to receive some words of encouragement that is going to change your life. Keith L. Brown.
One church, one school. Yes, check it. Mr. Impossible Keith L. Brown, representing that cap and that gown, because tonight it's all about elevation, mind transformation, and then restoration. It's about you getting that education. It's about you and that elevation. You got to get that diploma and that degree so you can be a leader in the world and nation. And that's all right, y'all. You're going far. I don't like candy, but I'm dropping bars. G-O-O-D-J-O-B. Good job, good job. G-O-O-D-J-O-B. Good job, good job. Everybody, G-O-O-D-J-O-B. Good job, good job. Again, G-O-O-D-J-O-B. Good job, good job. Greetings, 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 greetings. One church, one school. Greetings, greetings, greetings. Keith L. Brown, Mr. Impossible here. I bring you greetings from the Georgia Senate, where I am a director of external affairs. 2020 Enterprises, where I am the lead consultant and principal speaker, and the Impossible Institute, where I am the lead coach and trainer. I also give a soaring shout out to our technical director and a director of policy and community engagement in the Georgia Senate. He is an honors graduate of the Savannah State University that is knowledgeable. Keon J. Brown is in the house with me on tonight, as well as an honors graduate of the Albany State University, owner and operator of Green Screen Productions, and our lead videographer, Ms. Magnificent Michaela Green. And a heartfelt greetings to Dr. Bishop Honorable Henry M. Williamson Sr., our founder and president of the One Church, One School, and also Dr. Purposeful Fredonia Johnson, our executive director. I'm just delighted, ignited, and excited to be here tonight. And I also greet the entire leadership, regardless of your position or title, the entire leadership of One Church, One School. I bring you greetings on this evening as we are creating new approaches to faith-based school partnerships. New approaches to faith-based school partnerships. And you know, 8 months ago, purposeful parents, empowered educators, soaring scholars out there. 8 months ago, nobody was thinking about breathing. The first week in March, I was speaking at a conference, the National Youth at Risk Conference. Nobody was thinking about breathing. And then the next week, the entire world was in a position like this. The very next week, everybody was thinking about breathing. The very next week, the world was turned upside down. But I'm calling on you young scholars to help turn the world back right side up. Here at One Church, One School, we believe in staying masked up, and we believe in staying prayed up. I'm going to say it again. We believe in staying masked up, and we believe in staying prayed up. And so tonight, I'm just so excited to greet each and every one of you, to deliver a message of hope that I want to be relevant, not boring, and not waste your time. See, I don't want to waste your time tonight, because wasted time is the only thing you can't recycle. Wasted time is the only thing you can't recycle. Tonight, I'm simply going to talk to you from the topic, not impossible, I'm possible, virtually great. Not impossible, I'm possible. Virtually great. All across the country, all across the world. I've been doing back to school speeches at schools and colleges and universities. Some of them have been virtual presentations like this one. Some of them have been in person, face to face. And whatever it is, especially if you're on the virtual platform, I want each and every one of you to know tonight, if you're on the virtual platform, from the bedroom to the living room, now that's your classroom. So get ready. From the bedroom to the living room, now that's your classroom. So get ready. So what are you saying, Mr. Impossible? What I'm saying is if you want to go from impossible to I'm possible and be virtually great, you got to get up out of that bed in the morning. You got to head to the bathroom, take care of your hygiene. And then you got to head to the living room or wherever it is you are getting your work done outside of the bedroom, wherever you are, in your living quarters, wherever you are. That's what you have to do. But I don't want you in that bedroom because typically that bedroom is where you socialize, where you play video games, where you do most of your resting, relaxation, and sleep. But it's knowledge time. It's knowledge time in the country. It's knowledge time in the world. You got to go from impossible to I'm possible. And I know you can do it in person, but if you're on a remote platform, I know that you will be virtually great. I know you will be virtually great. And what I want you to understand is that we're not just facing the pandemic of COVID-19. Oh no, we are facing a pandemic of systemic racism like we've probably never seen in your lifetime. Because if you've lived in the African American community, certainly we've seen the pandemic of systemic racism since we came to America. But I want you to know there is hope tonight. I want you to know, in spite of the fact of 8 minutes, 46 seconds, 8 minutes, 46 seconds, this misguided, sick, demented individual had his knee on the neck of George Floyd, and it was damaging. But what was even more telling was the fact that most of the entire time he looked in the camera while he murdered George Floyd. A barrage of bullets killed Breonna Taylor. So you see, George Floyd can't breathe, but you can. Breonna Taylor can't breathe, but you can. Trayvon Martin, Mike Brown, whose blood I stood in Ferguson, Missouri, Sandra Bland, Philando Castile, Laquan McDonald, and so many others, Tamir Rice, Walter Scott, and too many names to call. They can't breathe, but you can breathe, and I can breathe. And so tonight I'm saying to each and every one of you, as long as you can breathe, you better breathe hope and love and excellence. You better breathe compassion. And so I want to start with compassion, because we're going to have compassion with each other. We're going to have compassion in our homes. We're going to have compassion in our schools. We're going to have compassion in our faith-based institutions. It's going to take compassion because everyone has high anxiety today. Look to your left, you look to your right, there's high anxiety, but I want you to understand that we have to have compassion with each other, because the more compassion we have, the greater chance we have to come together and to get through this together. Listen to me, and listen to me good, scholars. One Church, One School is going to give you the information, the inspiration, the elevation, tonight, the education, the transformation, the restoration. But at the end of the day, you have to do the implementation. What are you saying, Mr. Impossible? You have to implement all the tools that you're going to learn from this powerful session tonight. You're going to have to implement the tools that your teachers are giving you every day in school. You're going to have to implement the rules and the tools that your parents are giving you and helping you to grow. And it doesn't matter where you live. It doesn't matter what your family dynamic is right now. I want you to know I grew up and I was labeled special ed. I grew up with two mothers, two fathers, brothers and sisters on both sides. I've lost a brother to sickle cell anemia, but I'm still possible. I've lost a sister to the AIDS virus, but I'm still possible. My mother is battling Alzheimer's disease, but I'm still possible. I've been mislabeled, mislabeled, systematically labeled and mislabeled, but I'm still possible. And yes, we are facing systemic racism, primarily in the African American community, but we are still possible, and you are still virtually great. What are you saying, Mr. I'm Possible? No matter what it is, no matter what message you're getting tonight, it's going to take some teamwork. Oh, yes, I want y'all to see that. It's going to take some teamwork. When you're learning in school and your teachers are teaching, you have to do the work. You have to do the work. You have to do the work. So that means it's going to take some teamwork. And teachers, I want you to start every day with social emotional learning. I don't want to start each day with academics. Start each day with social emotional learning. Check in on these scholars. Check in on their mental and emotional well-being. I need you teachers to be just as engaging and even more engaging. Be more relevant. That's what these scholars deserve. Parents, I'm going to need you to show up even more, whether you're on the virtual platform or in person. Parents, we got to get them out of the bedroom, into the living room, and understand that is the classroom. And if you don't have a living room, use a room that's not the bedroom so that they can learn. We have to learn together on these virtual platforms in our homes. So yes, parents, I need you to have high expectations. High expectations, because no one rises to low expectations. If we want our young people to go from impossible to impossible and be virtually great, we must have high expectations for them and for my fathers. I'm calling on you as I'm calling on my national program entitled Fathers Not Father, Fathers, not Farther. I'm calling on biological fathers. I'm calling on surrogate fathers. I'm calling on men who are educators and counselors and social workers and coaches to step up and be fathers. I'm saying that it's going to take this teamwork that I just talked about to help our young people go from impossible to impossible and be virtually great. Do understand tonight I am speaking and you are listening. But if you do not implement what I'm telling you to implement today, then you're not going to go from impossible to impossible and be virtually great. I need you to take accountability for your own lives. That means you got to look in the mirror. I want you to look in the mirror like I'm doing right now, and whatever your name is, I want you to look in the mirror, and whatever your name is, say it out loud on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. And then I want you to say whatever your name is. My name is Keith, so I would say, Keith, I can't wait for you to meet the person you're about to become. So I want you to hold up your imaginary mirror right now. Hold your mirror up, and I want you to say your name on 3. 1, 2, 3. Now repeat after me. I can't wait for you to meet the person you're about to become. And what does that mean, Mr. Impossible? That means that I'm ever growing. I'm ever evolving. I'm ever changing. See, I want y'all to know I don't mind y'all making TikTok videos. That's what everybody was doing during the pandemic. Everybody was making TikTok videos, and I don't mind you making TikTok videos, but do understand that the clock is ticking on your future. Do understand that there are many in America who don't believe in you, but one church, one school believes in you. Your school district has to believe in you. Your family has to believe in you. And not everyone is going to believe in you, but this is what you must understand. For those who have a negative opinion of you, never let anyone's negative opinion of you become your opinion of yourself, and never let anyone tell you what you can't do, especially if they've never done it. I need you to imagine yourself wearing this cap and gown. I need you to see yourselves with these honor stoles. I need you to see yourself with your cap and gown, especially the class of 2021. We don't know what it's going to look like for you, but I do want you still to stay focused. I don't want you to give up. I don't want you to give in, whether it's in person or a virtual platform. You have to say, not impossible, I'm possible, I'm virtually great. And see, when you create that path for math, when you form an alliance with science, when you become buddies with social studies, when you have a heart for language arts and a positive perspective for all those electives, I'm going to say it again. I've said it before and I'm going to say it again. Create a path for math, form an alliance with science, become buddies with social studies, have a heart for language arts and a positive perspective for all those electives. When you do that, oh, you will achieve. I said, when you do that, oh yes, you will achieve. When you go to every class, whether it's in person or virtual, you will achieve. You will achieve. See, at the end of the day, at one church, one school, guess what? We want you to get academic medals. We want you to get academic medals. See, many of you will get athletic medals as well, but I want you to get academic medals first. You're scholar athletes. So guess what? You get these academic medals because we want you to get these academic medals and not go through metal detectors. Boom! We want you to get academic medals and not go through metal detectors, because the only metal detectors you need to be going through are at the airport when you are living your first class lifestyle. See, I want you to understand, when you do that which I asked you to do, when you stay focused, when you never give up and you never give in, you will go from impossible to I'm possible, and you will be virtually great. And once you achieve and you're able to put on your cap and gown and you march across the stage to get that diploma and then march across the stage to get that college degree, whether it's a 4-year college or university, a 2-year community college, a 2-year technical college, a 2-year trade college, don't let anybody tell you any other way than this. When you go to school after high school, it's called post-secondary education. And so then we call it college. And what's going to happen in life, Mr. Impossible? You're going to succeed. Oh, yes, you're going to succeed. Not only will you be successful, you will be significant. Not only will you be successful, you will be significant. I need everybody to do this right now. I love myself. I believe in myself. I'm proud of myself, and I'm a genius. Once again, I love myself. I believe in myself. I'm proud of myself, and I'm a genius. And then I want you to say, I can, I will, I must, and I got this. I can, I will, I must, and I got this. Hey! One church, one school. Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And I love myself. I believe in myself. I'm proud of myself. I'm a genius. I can, I will, I must, and I got this. I love myself. I believe in myself. I'm proud of myself. I'm a genius. I can, I will, I must, and I got this. Everybody, I love myself. I believe in myself. I'm proud of myself. I'm a genius. I can, I will, I must, and I got this. Now walk it out. Now walk it out. Now walk it out. Now walk it out. Yeah. That's it. That's it. And y'all know, what's the name of that song, scholars? What's the name of that song? That's right. The name of that song is Walk It Out. And here at One Church, One School, we don't mind y'all walking it out, but you better not walk out of high school without a diploma in your hands. You better not walk out of college without a degree in your hands. And listen, I would love for you to engage me on social media so I can engage, inspire, and empower you even more. I can be seen on social media, Keith L. Brown _ on Instagram, Keith L. Brown _ on Instagram, Keith L. Brown 1911 on Twitter, and Keith L. Brown Mr. Impossible on Facebook. Once again, Keith L. Brown on Instagram. Y'all follow me. Yes, I will follow back. But you remember, it's all about the cap and gown and beyond. You are about to go from impossible to I'm possible because you are virtually great. And so to all in the audience, it's time to rise up.
You're broken down and tired.
We got to rise up.
Living life on the merry-go-round.
Rise up.
You can't find a fire.
Don't you give up, but rise up. So on behalf of Keon J. Brown, Michaela Green, Mr. I'm Possible, and One Church, One School, not impossible, I'm possible. We are virtually great. Let's rise up. Let's rise up. Rise up. One church, one school. Rise up. Empowered educators. Rise up. Passionate parents. Rise up. My soaring scholars. Rise up. Rise up. Rise up. Who's going to graduate? You going to graduate. Who's going to graduate? I love you. One church, one school loves you. Not impossible, I'm possible. Virtually great.
First young lady to share with us today, a student who is in the 7th grade. She will come now and answer the question, what are the challenges of COVID-19 that she's dealing with? Honor student, brilliant, the son of one of our outstanding pastors. We are so grateful for you, Pastor Burns, making sure that Vanessa Burns, a 7th grade student, will share with us about the challenges of learning during this COVID-19 pandemic. And yes, she excels in all that she does. Vanessa, we're in your hands.
My name is Vanessa Burns, and I'm in 7th grade. I attend Hamilton Middle School. And I think one of the challenges in virtual learning is that we cannot communicate with teachers how we would in a classroom. So, therefore, they give us their email address, phone number, and that's one way that I can communicate with them to get my work done. After school, I make sure I stay in my studies. You gotta do your homework, schoolwork. And if you can't get online, they will send you a code that you can get into class with. It's at home and you can get more information from your parents and different people so you can get a better understanding of it. My parents helped me by just making the words make more sense to me in a better way that I can understand. The church is helping me by making sure I stay in my studies and encouraging me to do my very best. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Elin P. Christian Harper Underwood. I go to Aspire. My principal name is Principal Robinson. I'm a 5th grader at First and Me. Reverend Dr. Virgil Woods is my preacher. Virtual learning at the Boys and Girls Club, it's okay, but it's not school. Problems of virtual learning are games, family, television, food, or a wandering mind. Games can be at your fingertips. You can play them during class. You can turn off your camera. Family, they can be a distraction. A doorbell can ring. They can be like, ooh, I got it, no, I got it. They can be fighting. They can be talking loud. Or the television could be on. And you just can't really focus. The television could be on, it's loud, and that people could be playing music. Or food. When they're cooking food, you may ask for some. It's a whole big mess. And food could be at your fingertips. You can sneakily eat. And in school advantages, you can talk to your peers, do experiments, interact with your teachers, talk to your teachers, ask for help with your teachers, sit at lunch with your friends. Recess. Now that's all kids' favorite thing at school. I love recess because I get to interact with my peers and not be stuck at home. Well, hope that they will make a safe environment so we can get back to belong as normal as possible. And here's EMP Christian Harper.
Hello, my name is India Thomas. I am a senior at Westside Leadership Academy, where my principal is Mr. Mahone, located in Gary, Indiana. I am a member of Unity Baptist Church, where my pastor is R. Jerry Prothero. Today I'm going to discuss some challenges I face with e-learning. One challenge I face with e-learning is technical support. Although we have a technical support team, the computer can freeze or break down at any time, and when that occurs, the instructional time is lost for that day. Another challenge I would like to bring up is focusing. I think it is harder to stay focused in the comfort of my own home because there are many distractions. As I look forward to my senior year, I never thought I would face these challenges of having to do school from home. I look forward to anticipating my graduation and hoping things will change by the end of June. I made it to my senior year of high school, and I will not give up because the finish line is near. I thank God that I'm able to have a good support team such as my family, my church home, and my teachers. I'm a firm believer that all things are possible through Christ, and I'm making sure that I'm doing the things I am required to do. Thank you for having me and giving me the privilege to speak on today.
OCOS. One church. One school. A community partnership.
Thank you, Bishop Williamson. We are grateful and thankful to present the one who works hard to make this project happen as we create new ways in the midst of COVID-19 for virtual learning, who have the idea but also have the energy and fortitude to forge a partnership between the YMCA and the Mount Olive Cathedral CME Church, where each morning, Monday through Friday, from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., we are educating virtually 60 students in the Shelby County schools. I present to you now Brother Anderson Cook. Can we give God praise for Brother Anderson Cook, who leads in this effort, who's also a proud Lanite. Thank you, Bishop.
I start to say, who, me? Bishop Williamson, Mrs. Williamson. Glad to see you. Glad to see you up and about, too. Yeah, really. Glad to see that. Well, I was asked to come down, and they told me to only speak for a few minutes. I said, well, I never like to talk too long anyway. But this was something that was very close to my heart when it came up. What happened was the YMCA put out a notice through the newspapers, and other people have mentioned how it got started, saying that they needed some more locations to do virtual centers, virtual learning centers. So I called the Y, talked to their VP, and their VP said, yes, we think we would like to have your church included with us. The issue was they had to come by and look at the facility, make sure that they would be compatible for what they wanted to do. So they brought by a team of about 8. They walked over the building, they looked at it, they said, yes, this looks ideal for us. I explained to them at the time, and Reverend was there with me, so was Mr. Thomas. So I had my pastor there. He was well aware of what was going on. He said it sounded good to him. So we've got officers. And for me personally, I look at things and say, we do them better together. Because of that, Pastor and I, after discussions, that we said, well, we better take this to the officers first to make sure they are in agreement, because with this pandemic, you got a lot of issues, and you could end up in some lawsuits even, possibly from it. So we want to make sure that we were covered as a church. When we found out that they would include us in their insurance, there would be no issue with that. We took it to the officers of the church, trustees and stewards, through a virtual, I get all these names confused. We talked on the telephone as a group. That's what we did. Zoom, yeah, you go. We talked as a group. They said, yes, it sounds good to us. We took it to church conference through a Zoom. They said, it sounds good. So with that in hand, we decided, well, we can go forward. We do it better together. So once they came in and looked around, they liked it, and then we said, well, okay, we'll have to get some contracts, etc., completed. Well, because this thing was starting up so quickly, everything is a little slower, would have been a little slower than normal because we couldn't do it early. So it's been a little slower process completing everything, but it's pretty much all in place. Now, the way it got started was that the Y had a contract with the government, and what they were doing, because they were looking for spots, we were available. The Memphis City Schools said, hey, we will furnish the food. So at this point, we are serving about 3 or 4 meals per day to students within the Memphis City school system. They're coming in here starting about 6 o'clock in the morning right now, from 6 o'clock to about 6 o'clock in the evening. And they've got their computers, they've got these laptops, all the tools they use. Bishop, I think you mentioned what they call them, but they got all the stuff, and they're using them here in the building. They've got the Wi-Fi and all that. It's been extended to cover everything that we needed. We're running about 50, 60, I guess, kids per day, averaging, last I looked. So having said all that, with the meals being furnished by Memphis City Schools, we like to say we're not totally one church, one school. We like to think of ourselves as one church, many schools. And this program will be going on now. We'll be going on now. We are scheduled to go on through the first of the year. And of course, it's going to be decided at that point, will schools be back in session? What will we do? And I just want to thank my pastor, because when we started talking about it, he was as excited about this thing as I was. And that made a big difference to me. It's not what you do in this building, it's what you do for the community. And this was a community effort. And my wife told me, yes, you better pursue this, because she said, this is what we've been about all our lives. She's an educator, retired now. I've been an educator once in my life, so we believe in education. Education is essential to the soul. Thank you. Oh, one last quote. If a task is once begun, never leave it till it's done. If the labor is great or small, do it well, but not at all. Thank you, Bishop.
Good evening to each of you. In a couple of years, Dunbar Elementary was scheduled to close. And our bishop, who is none other than the one we have now, because we've had many, Bishop Williamson and a group of bishops went down to the board of the Shelby County school system and asked if they could keep Dunbar Elementary open, and they did. And from there, Mount Pisgah was asked to volunteer their help. 17 volunteers came from our church, and all of them did all they could for Dunbar. We tutored students in reading and language, math, and also copying the needs of the teachers. School supplies, monetary gifts, and uniforms were given. But now you know that Dunbar Elementary, as well as all of the schools in Memphis, Tennessee, and around this country, are doing virtual learning. Our needs now are different, but Mount Pisgah will be supplying to Dunbar Elementary School. We're going to supply what you call earbuds or earphones. Students still need supplies to do their assignments at home, and we will be giving those supplies to the students of Dunbar.
Our next young person who will speak to the challenges of COVID-19 and learning virtually and in other means is our fine young man, Cameron Kirkendall, a member of the Mount Olives CME Church Cathedral. His pastor, as you would know, is the Reverend Paris Lester and presiding elder. And his goals are to be a meteorologist. How thankful. So he's going to be a preaching, teaching, educator, meteorologist, saint of God. But you will hear now the special anointing that's on his life. Cameron Kirkendall.
Thank you, Bishop. Blessings to Bishop and Dr. Williamson, and thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to speak about COVID-19 in regards to our learning. COVID-19 has made learning very, very different. Now we don't have as much engagement with our teachers, we don't have as much engagement with our peers, and we're staring at a screen for about 8 hours a day or more. But I can say that our teachers, church, and parents are continuing to help us and allow us to make the best of this COVID-19 situation. Some of the challenges may include not enough communication from teachers. Some teachers, especially older teachers, are not familiar with the program itself. They've received training, but they're not actually familiar with it. And it's hard because some teachers have technical difficulties, which takes away from my learning on a day-to-day basis. But I am still taking strides myself to try to make sure that I turn in all my assignments on time and make sure that I'm completing my work to the best of my ability. My church and my pastor is helping me by checking in on me, make sure I'm doing good, make sure I'm turning in my assignments, and being flexible and understanding, and just praying for me as well. All right. And my parents, they are helping me by making sure that I'm staying on top of my assignments, make sure that I'm turning them in. And they also, if they have to come home throughout the day, they make sure not to disturb me so they know that I'm in school and they wouldn't disturb me. But thank you to my parents, Mount Olive Cathedral, and my pastor and bishop for allowing me to speak to the One Church, One School event.
Greetings. One Church, One School salutes our 2020 Volunteer of the Year. The Volunteer of the Year is none other than the Reverend Dr. George Coleman. Dr. Coleman would like to thank his presiding bishop, Bishop Henry M. Williamson, for bestowing such an honor upon him. He would also like to thank the One Church, One School administration, Dr. Fredonia Johnson, the First Episcopal District of the CME Church, the Summer Lunch Feeding Program of the First Episcopal District Technology Center, the YMCA, the Tennessee Department of Education Summer Food Program, and also local, state, and federal representatives and senators. In conclusion, Dr. Coleman again wishes to thank Bishop Henry M. Williamson and his wife, Dr. Doris Williamson, for none of this would have been done without their prayers, guidance, and support. He thanks Bishop Williamson for being a pace setter in volunteerism. Let us give a round of applause for the work and service of Reverend Dr. George Coleman, our 2020 One Church, One School Volunteer of the Year. Partnerships still exist to this day to promote student achievement in a very special way. The community of Build a better tomorrow today from the start. Embrace the value of life and learning. Embrace the value of life.
Bishop T. Garrett Benjamin Jr., we are so thankful for his extraordinary ministry of more than 40 years. He was a dear friend and co-worker in Indianapolis, Indiana. We did many things there in the school system. We're so thankful for his initiation of the Respect Academy and his litany in that regard. I must respect you, and you must respect me. We do not have to agree, but let us respect one another. I love that in light of what we have learned from the litany that Doris Fox Boyd mentioned, written by that great preacher of the Wheat Street Baptist Church who worked with us, Dr. William Holmes Borders. And I challenge, and even the young people who are here today, say, I am somebody. I am God's child. Respect me, protect me, never neglect me. I am God's child. My mind is a pearl. I can learn anything in the world. Down with dope, guns, and violence. Up with hope, learning and studying and believing, and know that I am God's child. I'm thanking God for Bishop T. Garrett Benjamin Jr., his wonderful wife, 3 sons and grandchildren who will address us from the standpoint of faith-based communities. What can we do from the Jewish community, Catholic, CME, Baptist, all faith communities can join together and unite in teaching the value of life and the value of learning to all of our students. We are so grateful to have him now share with us. Let's give God some praise for Bishop T. Garrett Benjamin Jr.
Now, we're talking about, but when you save particularly a black boy, you save a black man. And when you save a black man, you save a black marriage. And when you save a black marriage, you save a black community. When you save a black community, you save a black city. Listen to me, Chicago. Listen to me, Detroit. Listen to me, Oakland. And when you save a black city, you wind up saving the state and the nation. My brothers and my sisters, you are on the right path. You are doing the right thing. This is our challenge for the 21st century. Train a child in the way he or she shall go. And when they're old, the Bible says they will not depart. You think that's what Marilla Jackson, grandma, meant when she said, if you be a good boy, you'll be a good man. Out of that has come my ministry. I started the Respect Academy in the 90s, teaching children morals, manners, respect. I used to tell them, we do not have to agree, but I must respect you, and you must respect me. This, I believe, is the mission of one church, one school. And you're on the right track, and you're on the right road. May God help you in the days ahead to turn this nation and our children back to God. Love you. and blessings on you.
As Bishop Benjamin mentioned, we look to our village of teachers, parents, principals, and faith-based organizations to help raise our children. As we are managing COVID-19, the village is modifying their approach to support our children and community. Each of our panelists are going to share how faith communities can help students, parents, and schools during this pandemic, beginning with Dr. Karen Walker McClure.
Greetings. I am Dr. Karen Walker McClure, the presiding elder of the Chicago District of the Christian Methodist Episcopal Church and the proud pastor of the Murchison Isom and Jubilee Temple CME churches. I serve under the Episcopal leadership of Bishop Sylvester Williams Sr. Congratulations to Bishop Henry Williamson Sr., Dr. Doris Williamson, and Dr. Fredonia Johnson on this wonderful first virtual One Church, One School conference. Thank you for inviting me to share a little about new approaches that our churches have taken to assist schools during this pandemic. Time does not permit me to tell you everything that we are doing, but the churches on the district have developed some very creative partnerships. The Allen Metropolitan Church is doing what they call well-being checks. Well-being checks are being done by a team of people appointed by the pastor who contact families from the school they are in partnership with. When a student has not been consistently checking into their classes remotely, their names and information are given to the pastor, and they check in with the family to ask how they might be able to help them. Sometimes all the family needs is to know someone cares about them. The family doesn't just have someone to listen to them, but to help them with whatever resources they might need. In the process of doing well-being checks, they found that the reason that many of the students were not checking in is because they didn't have internet access. When that is the case, the church contacts the school for the family to make sure that they get internet access. Many people don't know that the Chicago Public Schools provides free internet access to students in need. Oftentimes, families don't know about the resources that are available to them. The schools and the churches are able to partner to find out more about the resources. Talking to the parents and students also gives the team an opportunity to find out about challenges they may be facing, not just relating to remote learning, but COVID in general. Some people are grieving and ask for prayer. The team is equipped to pray for them. Some are in need of financial assistance. The churches are able to assist them in that way through their benevolent funds. Many people have lost their jobs and are unable to pay their bills. 4 churches on the district have collaborated to provide assistance through the LIHEAP program for families that need help with their utility bills. So far, they have provided over $61,000 to families to keep their lights and gas on. Monthly free COVID testing is also being done at one of the churches on the district. I am proud to report that some of the larger churches have begun to mentor smaller churches on the district so they can provide more resources in their communities. As I've heard you say many times, Bishop Williamson, teamwork makes the dream work. Thank you for the opportunity to share.
One church, one school promotes the value of life and learning. One church, one school demonstrates the value of love and growing with the B principle on our head, hand in heart. Build a better tomorrow today from the start. Promotes the value of life and learning. One church, one school demonstrates the value of love and growing with the P principle in our head, hand in heart. Build a better tomorrow today from the start. Embrace the value of life and learning with the P principle in our
appreciate this opportunity to be a part of this presentation of One Church, One School. My name is Rabbi Leonard Zucrow. I'm Rabbi Emeritus of Temple Bethel in Munster, Indiana. It is a specific honor for me to be a part of this presentation, as I firmly believe in the work of One Church, One School, and the notion that it takes a village to raise a child. Indeed, it has been my mission to bring together public schools, private schools, and the faith community, meeting the needs of our families and specifically our children. In light of the current situation with the pandemic and COVID-19, in our particular congregation, I was teaching our confirmation class, 8th and 9th graders. Prior to the pandemic, we were meeting in class in person. When we reached March and restrictions were set in place, we moved online. It was indeed a challenge for the students and for me. Fortunately, we succeeded. The students adapted well. I was able to learn how to make online learning successful. So much so that our service of confirmation took place online because we could not be present in our sanctuary. The history of that moment is preserved in the photograph that we did from the Zoom screen, so that we can look back on that moment and remember that this took place during the time of pandemic, and hopefully a reminder that we will never ever have to face this again. I am honored, as I noted, to be a part of this conversation and endorse and appreciate the work of One Church. Appreciate this out.
Even though COVID has taken place, we have still kept our One Church, One School partnership active. I thank God for Brittany Williams, our local One Church, One School director, and also our Director of Christian Education, Rhonda London. We had a back-to-school drive in August to make sure we create the atmosphere of learning for our young people and our families, and the expectation of going back to school. Our principal needed us to provide supplies and support. We even pray at the school outside, of course, in the front of the school itself. So there are all kinds of ways that churches and congregations can get involved. It does not matter your size. You can have 10 members, 100 members, or 1,000. It does not matter if you're in the north, the south, the east, or the west. Every congregation can have a One Church, One School partnership. We thank God for this day. Help our young people where you are and support One Church, One School.
Our panelists have given us something to think about, and we have some others that shared their thoughts as well. Take some time and look over the comments from Reverend Clinton Jackson, Elder Correll K. Cargill, the Reverend Jerry Protho, and Reverend Octavius Wilson.
Well, as we come to a close today, Bishop Williamson asked me to just spend a few minutes, and that's a very few, in a closing thought and a closing idea. I'd indicated in my introduction that you are all, I believe, on the right road. I recognize that this is what we would call the impossible dream, because we've fallen so far away from the mark. We have so much work to do to get the school, the church, and the home back together again. But, you know, this pandemic has possibilities, because it would actually send us back to the home as a classroom and as a prayer room. Our churches have been closed, our schools are closed part-time or full-time, and God is trying to tell us something. Let's go home, church. Let's get right, church, and let's go home. Now there's a thought. Don't squander this opportunity. We can change the model a little and still make a difference. Some would call it the impossible dream. Jesus would say, you can do all things through me, through Christ, who strengthens us daily. My brothers and sisters, what we're dealing with is going to take more than wearing a mask, as important as that is. And I know scientifically how important.
Don't just get a CRM. Get Monday.com's flexible CRM solution.
Like COVID. But how do we deal with the pandemic called sin? Our children have been affected by it, in it, through it. We're all sinners saved by grace. Then it requires, I think, something more than just a mask for us to maintain and retain our sanity. The Bible tells us, when I was a child, I thought as a child. When I became a man, I threw away childish things. That's where we started today. And let me finish with this. Keep your mask on. Wash your hands regularly. Stay away from crowds. But guess what? None of this will make any difference, whether it is in school, in church, or at home, unless we understand what kind of battle we're in. This battle is not one of carnal means, for we have not been given that kind of battle. The battle is spiritual, and we are dealing with powers and principalities in high places. And what we need to do is recognize that we do not solve our problems with carnal methods. Actually, we're not even fighting against a man. We're dealing with a spirit that does not want our children to grow, that is insistent upon our children failing and floundering and becoming less than what they've been called to be. So what are we going to have to do? Final word. Keep the mask on, but we're going to have to suit up. And what Paul said, we're to the Ephesians. Didn't he say in Ephesians 6 that this battle requires something more than a mask? We need a suit of armor. We need the helmet of salvation. Make sure that our children are saved. That's the key, and help them to understand what that means, and filled with the Holy Spirit, and then they'll be able to deal with the shield of faith, and then they'll be able to wear the breastplate of righteousness, and then they'll be able to walk in truth with a belt of truth and peace for their shoes, and the sword of the Spirit as the word of God for their teacher. My brothers and sisters, it's time to suit up. And operate in the whole armor of God. That's how we save our churches, our schools, and our homes. Thank you, Bishop Henry Williamson, Dr. Fredonia Johnson, and your team for showing us that the battle is yet to be won, but it's the Lord's. And if we use those principles, we cannot fail. God bless you. God keep you. And Father, thank you for all of the precious people who are on this call and all of the people who have tried to make a difference. Bless them, bless the parents, bless the schools, bless the policemen, bless the parents, bless the schools, bless the churches, bless the preachers, the politicians. It takes this whole village to save our children. We will not give up, because you have not given up on us. In Jesus' name, amen. God bless you. I love you, and keep the faith.
And of course, the former editor of the Missionary Messengers, something about those missionaries, isn't it? They really take their charge and mission seriously. A great woman of God comes now to tell you about the summer miracle of feeding more than 6,400 lunches on a daily basis to Shelby County school children that need and deserve that nutrition. Mrs. Doris Fox Boyd, we're now ready to hear from you. Let's give it up. Let's praise God for a great one church, one school leader.
It is a privilege to stand before you this evening. Of course, we know that school was abruptly halted, maybe in mid-March, and then during the summer, the government, it was under the umbrella of the Department of Agriculture, decided that they would provide meals, but there were several restrictions as to how the meals could be handed out. But to make a long story short, our bishop had someone to investigate, Dr. George Coleman, and when he reported back, the bishop saw right away, this is a job for one church, one school. Because any number of the schools that were, it seems like, that weren't getting the meals were our schools, the ones in impoverished neighborhoods and so forth. And what they needed was transportation. You know, They had strict rules as to where the meals could be delivered to, and then the students had to get away to get there. So our bishop called on One Church, One School, and we asked some other folks, Sister Sheila Holman. She came in and helped us out with a lot of the things that needed to be done to make sure that we were compliant. And to make a long story short, we got more than, I know there were at least 30 drivers. And we took turns every week. Everybody had an assigned day. And we would deliver food, and we would deliver to businesses inside the headquarters where children were. We delivered to churches. We delivered to community centers. We delivered to apartment complexes. We delivered to wherever it was that we needed to deliver. And it was such a blessing and such a joy to see those little faces as you brought their lunches.
Good evening. On behalf of Bishop Henry M. Williamson Sr., National President of One Church, One School, Dr. Doris Williamson, and Dr. Fredonia Johnson, National Director of One Church, One School, it is indeed a pleasure to bring greetings to those of you who have gathered for this One Church, One School virtual event. We're still going to be able to reach our students if we provide for the families through another way. And that other way is through drive-throughs. We've been able to drive through to have parents to drive through to give supplies, backpacks, food, and clothing. For example, at Manassas High School in Memphis, Tennessee, the Trinity CME Church, along with the Missionary Society, have been providing $100 Kroger gift cards to buy groceries for needy families. This cannot be done for every family, but we've asked the school to give us the names of those families that are in most needs, and those are the ones that we're trying to concentrate on right now. We also have partnered with 2 Baptist churches. I think I've mentioned that before, using the resources within our community. They too are assisting Manassas. So Manassas has 3 schools, 3 churches assisting the school. After exploring the needs and demands of the local schools and potential resources that we had, we looked forward to trying to make lemonade out of these lemons that we have been given. We explored the needs of the students and also the potential resources. Some were provided by the school district. I was surprised to find out, and maybe I shouldn't be, that the school system is doing a phenomenal job also. They are providing meals of breakfast and lunch each day for students within the school district. All the parents have to do is to drive through on a certain day, and they can receive food for the 5 days that schools are in, which means a breakfast and a lunch for every child. Another thing that they have done is to make sure the virtual learning is taking place by providing iPads, and also they're providing headsets so that every student can have that at their homes in order to be able to attend classes. But what happens if the parents have problems with the electricity and maybe their electricity has been turned off? What do they do then? I found out that through a program called School Seed, that this program raises money for families who have outstanding utility bills. They have to provide all the information to make sure that their utilities are in the rear. And these families are receiving assistance based on their needs. These are just a few of the strategies in place in some of our schools. We look forward to other approaches to enhance our school partnerships throughout the school district. throughout the school year. Let us see if we can make a difference, and let us continue in the village. Thank you.
Take a moment to share.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I'd just like to say hello, everyone. Thank you so much for the opportunity for us to just share what God has allowed us to be able to do for not just our students, but our community, for our parents, and for everybody that has come into contact with Dunn STEM Academy. Who knew that 16 years ago, starting that the mission that God had given us for this school would have just transformed to something that's so vital and so helpful to the community. And then in 2010, when Allen Metropolitan Church became one of our primary partnerships, everything that we set out to do, God has just brought to fruition. So we're so very grateful and honored and just blessed. And I am just so that I can be a part of it and see the work that God has done within our school and community. So one of the things that we were excited about in 2016, 2016, we were honored and blessed with an $11 million grant where we were able to transform our school into a STEM academy, meaning that our focus shifted to science, technology, engineering, and math. We had 2 computer labs. Now we have 4 as a part of that grant. And then we also got a STEM innovations lab. We got a new science lab. So God saw fit for us to get all of the things that we needed so that we could serve his mission and produce the type of students that he expected for us to produce. So we're just excited because this partnership has, whenever there is a need that we have, I don't have any problems coming to Pastor Bryant and to Allen Metropolitan Church, who is just ready and willing to serve and give us whatever it is that we need to be successful. So this partnership has definitely flourished. He talked about initially we started with like an after school program, and then that grew into, well, Pastor, we have some parents that really need help in the morning before school. Is there a way that we can provide some kind of before school opportunities for parents and for students? And the answer was yes, we did that. And then there were a couple of classrooms, particularly primary, where the teachers really didn't have the support that they needed. We went to Pastor and to Allen Metropolitan. Hey, is there a way that you can give us some support during school? And they were just willing to do whatever we needed to be successful. And then who knew that we would be at this point now where school is virtual. Mm-hmm. So now we're working on the opportunity to provide some kind of resource for students that may need help during the school day, a place where they can learn comfortably, a safe environment for them, and then also essential workers or parents or teachers that also need some support. Allen Metropolitan and Dunn have been able to merge again to provide the type of support that we need for our students so that they can learn and learn safely. So we're really excited about that. And when I tell you God has blessed this partnership, we have 30 laptops that we're providing for students while they are at the Safe Haven program so that they don't have to transport their devices back and forth. All they have to do is come. Parents, bring your students. We provide the opportunities for them to learn. We provide the resources for them to learn. We provide the human capital for them to learn. And God has just been so amazing in this work.
And in support of that, the church, in support of that, has brought in an IT person to equip our facility with fast internet accessibility for all of our students that will be coming there and learning remotely. Yes. And so we're so thankful that, and the district Chicago Public School is providing, as you know, a computer for each of those students in their home across our city to make sure every student is able to go on internet capability as well as the lab too as well. And then you were so gracious and kind up above that to donate to bless us with another 30 just so they won't even have to bring theirs.
Yes.
And we can do the sanitizing and all that to make sure that they're kept safe while they're in our environment. And I just want to express our appreciation to you for that. And I'm thankful that we have educators, retired principals, we have retired administrators, retired teachers and staff, a support team there that can partner with you, that you can help us to understand what is needed in remote learning so they can continue to thrive even in the midst of this season that we're in.
Yes, absolutely.
Hi, good morning. I am Elin P. Christian Harper Underwood. I attend Aspire Child Academy, and I go to First AME Church where Reverend Virgil Woods resides. I do virtual learning, but now I go to the Boys and Girls Club. And also, I think virtual learning is not the best way to learn because you can't get that one-on-one experience. And then, if you don't get that one-on-one experience, you won't get that going in your brain. And then when you don't have it going in your brain, it won't work because you don't know what's happening. Your teacher assigns work constantly, and you don't know what the assignment is. And I think online schools should not be letting them on the computer. They should have worksheets. But I do understand that they want to see them in person, and on a computer screen want to see them. But I want them to have worksheets, so when they have worksheets, they can just have work, and then if they have a question, they can just get on the meeting with their teacher. In school, I think you should do it, even though some kids don't like it, but I do, because in school it should be, it's a must, because in school kids learn new things, they get to interact with their peers, and they don't get to see human contact because of the COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic. So I think that we should be doing online school. And also, I can't sit in front of a screen for 8 hours because I like to fidget a lot. And some kids may get on their game with their phone or watch TV or turn off their camera during the meeting. And that's my presentation for online school and in school.
Finally, tonight, we are so grateful for a leader who marches step in step with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Coretta Scott King, who leads in the spirit of Frederick Douglass and Bishop Isaac Lane and Bishop B. Julian Smith of the CME Church, who was in the last march with Dr. King here in Memphis, Tennessee, before that April 4th message that he gave, I've been to the mountaintop. He was really prophesying about faith-based communities joining together and uniting and moving forward to protect, provide, and prosper America's most important asset, the children and students. He is the Reverend Al Sharpton, president and founder of the National Action Network. He is with us every Saturday morning at 9 o'clock on the Impact Network, speaking truth to power, motivating and mobilizing. He brings before us the need for moving against institutionalized racism. Yes, Black Lives Matter, because when Black Lives matter, then all lives will matter. That's really the essence of that statement. And Black Lives Matter, all lives will matter, because we recognize during COVID-19 pandemic, there are so many disparities in healthcare in the Black community, in education. We should have year-round schools and full health care in America. They do it in London, England, and Canada. All of the civilized nations around us have full and free, adequate health care for its citizens. Don't we deserve that in America? This man stands for that. And he has gone a disciple of Dr. Martin Luther King and my good friend, Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson. He is an understudy, but we are so appreciative of his outstanding leadership. The recent March on Washington to celebrate the 1963 March, he led it, and other great religious, political, business, and educational leaders were there to remind America we have not arrived yet. We've come a long way, but we still have a long way to go. That's why we are encouraging everybody, vote like you never voted before on November 3rd. That's what Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton says to us. Then you can see his political commentary on Politics Nation, on MSNBC, on Saturdays and on Sundays. A fearless warrior has written 2 books that should be must reading for all Americans, for us to reach our goal to truly be one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let us welcome Dr. Reverend Pastor Prophet Reverend Al Sharpton. Give it up.
Let me first give an honor to God, and then, of course, to our Bishop Williamson, who is one of the great faith leaders and great social justice well, let me put it this way, prophets, and a lot of people will not will use that term, but I don't use it lightly. He's a social justice prophet and one of the great faith leaders in this country. And he puts on the armor of God to fight for all of us. But as we look at this combination coming together of education or schooling and church, let's look at it from a historic perspective. When this country came out of the Civil War and went into a period where for the first time in the history of the country, blacks became technically free, economically still in bondage, politically still excluded in many cases, but technically free. Soon able to vote, so politically it started to change. Economically promised some things, but they were short-lived and did not bring about much fruition. The first institution that blacks had in this country that they totally owned and operated was the black church. It was not only our religious haven, not only our place of spiritual refuge, it was the epic center of our community, our businesses, our schools, our social fraternities and sororities and all came out of the black church because it was the place where we were in charge. If you study the history of the United States, the first thing that blacks collectively owned and operated was their churches. Many people that are foreign or external to the black community do not understand that. They look at our places of worship like places of worship in other communities. And the fact is that everything was grounded in the black church because it was the only place that we made our decisions. It was the only place that there was no external masters or former masters. We were the boss. And one of the first things that the black church did
was help develop what became historic institutions, educational institutions. You have to remember, it was against the law during slavery for blacks to read and write. So one of the reasons in a passion of the black church and a passion of those that had just become freed and then their children who were the first ones to be born free, one of the reasons they had this passion for education is they had to break the fact that it was the first time they legally could read or write. Whites were severely punished in slavery if they were caught teaching a black how to read or write. So clearly, we didn't feel totally free until we could also be literate, which means we had to have this marriage, this combination, this synthesis of education and religion. So when we talk about faith and education today, we're talking about our history, and we're talking about how it was always combined in our community, because institutionally that's where it started. And because we were educated by people foreign to us, our churches, our parents, our families wanted us educated by people that would also teach us what we needed to survive in a world that was mean-spirited to us and biased against us. So we couldn't expect people that had just freed us and had by law felt we were 3/5 human to educate us to be fully who we should and could be. And that lasted all the way through to the end of the 19th century, where now we were in legal segregation. So you had black schools underfunded, underdeveloped, and you had white schools that had all the resources they want. We're just maybe 5 decades out of that, and in many areas, still the same. So in many ways, the connection that Williamson is making and others is deeply rooted in our history and in our psyche, because we must not only know that our young people and our students are getting a good education, it must be an education that relates to their circumstance. If you want to go biblical, the children of Israel, when they were freed from bondage and went through 40 years wandering in the wilderness and finally went across the Jordan into the promised land, the land they inhabited, they needed a different kind of focus and different special attention in their education than those that they were next to in the land they inhabited. Because those people hadn't been in bondage. And those people's values and beliefs and behavior had not been torn down. Those that were the children of Israel and the children of those in the wilderness were the ones that needed to be restored differently. That's why what is being done by the bishop is so important, because you need to have those that are sensitive to the needs of the environment of those you're educating, and that can impose the values that will make them survive and make them rise from the guttermost to the uttermost, and give them a spiritual balance in their life. And that is not anti-progressive. It is the only way you can be progressive, because making progress is based on what are you progressing from. If we were in a nation where we all were on the same starting block, we could all have the same education. But we're not. I remember when I was growing up in Brooklyn, New York. I was born and raised in the North. My mother and father from the South. My father left when I was 10 years old. My mother would make me do homework that she did not understand. She made me do algebra and geometry and the sciences, and would sit there and make me open books that she could barely understand what she was reading. Not because my mother was not smart. She was one of the most intelligent people I ever met. but because she came from Dothan, Alabama, and they were not well educated. Well, we did not start at the same place. So by the time I got to Brooklyn College, kids that came from other communities that were white in New York, they could do their homework with their mother, their father, their grandmama, their grandfather. They may have come from families of professionals and teachers. I had to learn in school and try to remember at home to do my homework because my mother could make me do it, but she couldn't help me do it. So we didn't start at the same place in this country. And I was the first one in my family to go to college. Well, we're only talking about people a generation or two behind us. They don't have 4 or 5 generations of education. And they don't have the homes that they can go to and talk to their relatives because that was imposed upon us. So anyone that's saying we should not have that combination just does not understand our history and does not understand that embedded in us is the faith in our churches, that they would protect us. They're our place of refuge. They're the place that will make sure we get what we need. We're all citizens of the same country. We all should have the same rights, but we all didn't get to where we are the same way. We had to fight to get there. And sometimes when you come out of a mud pile that you were thrown in, not volunteered to be in, thrown in, forced in, you got to clean the mud off your clothes, while those that have never been muddied sit and look at you like, why are you so dirty? I'm dirty because I was thrown in the dirt. I was not born that way. And you're clean because you was never thrown into anything but a clean situation. So let us not resist what is necessary, and that is to have our faith-based churches, particularly in our communities, help to educate us in terms of not only the academics that we need to know to compete in a technocracy, but also that deals with our values and our self-esteem. One of the important things that you get out of our faith-based educational institutions is that we need also, as we learn the educational sciences, skills that we need to have, we need to learn how to rebuild our self-esteem. Why are so many of our community members given to some things that are not good for them? Drugs, alcohol, reckless living, because they've not been taught their self-worth. Why have they not been taught their self-worth? Because it has been taken from them. When you grow up with menial positions, with a ceiling on your ambitions, you begin to devalue yourself. If you have a level of self-esteem that you should have, and a level of value, you will not poison yourself with liquor and drugs. You will not try and tear down your families. All of that is a reflection of a psychology that was imposed on us. So we must rebuild, and that's why you need those that understand that have that spiritual connection to really minister to that as you learn the academic things that are necessary to survive in this world. That is why you need that combination. Otherwise, you can have people that are well educated with low self-esteem and they still won't succeed. Or you can have people go to church that have self-esteem but don't have the educational tools to compete in this world, and it won't work. It is the balance. And that's why what Reverend Bishop Williamson is doing is so important. We need the balance. And we need to know we're not off balance because of ourselves. But even if it is not our fault, it is our circumstance. I tell young people wherever I go that even if you are not responsible for you got to do something about it. The illustration I always use is if I walked into right now where you're sitting and I knocked you off your chair and we came back a week later and you were still laying on the floor that I knocked you to. If I knocked you down, that's on me. But if I come a week later and you're still laying there, that's on you. What do I mean by that illustration? Even if you're not responsible for being down, you're responsible for getting up. And if you wait on those that knock you down to lift you up, you'll never get up, because if they wanted you up, they would have never knocked you down. You got to find the internal strength, the internal determination, the willpower to get up, even though you know you should have never been knocked down in the first place. And don't think laying down on the ground complaining, laying down on the ground crying and screaming is going to get you up. Because the people that knocked you down aren't going to feel sorry for you. They intended to knock you down. You have got to develop it internally. The strength, the character, and the mentality. That's why there's special schools that's set aside to make sure they build that in you. That you don't feel that being knocked down is your rightful place, and that you don't wallow being down. Some of us make music celebrating being down, calling ourselves down names, calling our mama down names, celebrating being down, making it some kind of full display that I'm down. No, don't wallow being down. Get up and learn how to get up. And that's what Williamson has done, is make us know I don't belong there. You might have knocked me down there, but I'm going to get up. And when I get up, I also have gotten up with the tools I need to compete, because I've been trained and raised and educated by people that have been knocked down too, and they know what I need to get up. Others can empathize. Others can sympathize. Others can even be on my side, but they don't know what it's like to be down. They don't know what it is to struggle to get up and to try and get past your resentment for being knocked down and get to where your resentment doesn't blind you from you getting up. But those that's been there, they're the ones that know how to teach me not to paralyze my own growth and not to be in the way of my own rise. That is why we need the institutions Williamson is building and doing. Everybody God created was intentional. Nobody was unintentional by God. You ever look at how the world operates, the universe operates? It is all with precision. Never saw the sun bump into the moon. Never saw one planet bump into another planet. It's all operating with a precision that is perfected by thousands of years. So why do you think that God got to you and me to make his first mistake? He made everything else operate right, but it got to you and messed up. No, you are not messed up. You were messed up. But God made it available for people to take that mess and get a message and recreate. And don't let people that have never been messed up stop you from cleaning up the mess they caused and being all that you could be. You all were born for a purpose, and your children were born for a reason. Otherwise, God would have not brought them in the world. Now, let's make sure that they have all they need from wherever the circumstances where they came into the world to defy the odds and be all that they were called to be. We're a history of odds breakers.
We made it when no one felt we could make it, and sometimes we doubted it ourselves. That's the folks that need to educate us. The ones that can tell you everything we need to know about technology and combine it with saying, if God be for you, it's more than the whole world against us. If God wasn't for us, we would still be here. Now we got to know it, and we have to do it. God bless you.
So grateful for the wonderful wife of 46 years who will come and greet you now. I'm so thankful that she has been by my side, been more than a nurse, that she took those vows seriously in sickness and in health. She has stood by me with prayers. God instructed her how to anoint me with oil from James 5:14 and 15, and here I am standing, preaching, teaching with an overflowing cup of love and gratitude to God. One church, one school. Dr. Fredonia Jones Johnson, our National Executive Director, would not exist all over this country. All directors, local, all of the bishops of the church, all of the general officers, all of the pastors and presiding elders, and those local coordinators who make a difference in their community, had it not been for her love and for her prayers. Won't you stand and help me to greet and give God praise, honor, and glory for Dr. Doris, me, and
Thank you so much, Bishop Williamson, for this great opportunity. Thanks to all of you who have participated tonight, bringing reports and joy and love to our children in the One Church, One School event on tonight, Thursday, October 22nd, from 7 until 9 p.m. Thanks to all of you, starting out with Vanessa, and then with Cameron, and then with Mrs. Jacqueline I. Scott, Mrs. Boyd, and then with, let's see, who else? Anderson Cook, and many more. We thank all of you for the love and the joy that you presented to so many students, scholarships and food and meals to all of you. Thank you so very much.
The children and youth may just be 30% of the nation at this time, but they are 100% of our future. And I'll say they are 1,000% of what we must do to save, educate, feed, and nurture these fine students of America. Reverend Robert Burns, closing prayer. Give God for this pastor. That was his wonderful daughter and family here sharing with us tonight.
God be the glory for all the things he has done. Let us pray. Father, we do thank you for this hour. We thank you for One Church, One School. We thank you for our bishop. We thank you for the men and the women that are on the front line that are doing the work. Yes, they're 40% of our population right now, but they're 100 or 1,000% of our future. And we thank you, Father, for them. We thank you for the churches all over this nation that have opened their doors to buy into this dream of One Church, One School. Continue to bless us, Father. Continue to bless the leaders. Continue to pour more leaders in that we may invest more in our children's lives. And we thank you for what you're doing, not only in our lives, but in the lives of the believers all over the world. Be with us as we leave this place today, Father, and give us strength to continue to do the work you've called us to do. For it's in the name of Jesus we do give thanks and pray. Amen. Amen.
OCOS. One church, one school, a community partnership. OCOS. One church, one school, a community partnership.